This is an image that I've made to show you how to do your preparatory work for underpainting. Remember, the goal of underpainting is to unify the picture and to make sure that you've got cool and warm images to work from. So I'm going to do two versions of the same image, and on the left hand side I've put a colour field of green, and on the right hand side I've got this orangey brown colour. I then do the drawing on both of these. Now these were made on an iPad, so it's exactly the same drawing, just duplicated and put across, but you would have to draw yours out manually. I then chose some colours that were going to be part of my pattern for each image. So on the here you can see that I've got a dark tone for the purple, a mid-tone is going to be blue, and then the highlight is just off-white, which is warm. Remember, we want to have warm and cool colours. Warm colours being red, orange, yellow, cool colours being blue, green, purple. You need to have a mix of those colours, particularly in regards to your background colour, the colour that you're working over, or the ground colour, often called a ground, to make sure that they harmonise as a set that work together. And there's all sorts of ways you can choose your colours, but at this point it's best to try and do it personally. Just make your own decisions. Have some confidence in your own decisions. So let's apply the dark tones to this image. So this is where I think the dark tones would go in either image. And I've worked on the two simultaneously with the different colours, so I'm just working structurally. I'm thinking about the dark tones. Next I'm going to apply the mid-tones. So this is where the mid-tones would go in the image. And remember, it's as important to draw and paint outside the figure and shade outside the figure as it is to do so inside. Finally, I'm going to apply the highlight colour. And now I've got a tonal map of colours which will help to make one unified structure for my painting. But this is only the underpainting. This isn't what the viewer will necessarily see, or they will see some of it, but not all of it in totality. So let's have a look at where I think the local colour or the realistic colour should go. So if we look at the image on the right, I think you're looking at something like this. Now I've used green to represent the local colours. Obviously they will be naturalistic colours. People don't just have green faces. But what I'm suggesting with this is that where it's darkest and thickest green, or most opaque green, that is where you would build up the colours. And in this case, that would mean the area around the eyes, because that's where we want to build it up. And as we get to the outer edge, we would have less colour, and it would be bigger, simpler shapes and thinner layers. Let's look at that on the right hand side, and it's the same story. Sorry, on the left hand side it's the same story. So we would want to build the local colour up in the same kinds of positions, and we would have less and less of it as it spreads away from the centre, because in this case the centre of the picture is where we most want our local colour. And if I want to add to that, in fact, I'd want a bit more local colour around here, and I would want it deeper and thicker around here so you couldn't see anything, and we probably want a little bit more around the chin, and we could even have a little tiny bit around that. So now and there, if I now take away the other images from this stack, you can see that that's where I'm suggesting the local colour goes. Where it's thickest green, that means it's solid, built up local colour. Where it's thinner and more washy, that means it would be thinner, see-through, transparent layers of the colour. So let's go back to it now. That's our full image. Let's take off the guide of where the local colour would be. But as those two images stand, they are now finished in terms of underpainting. The only thing I would say to look at this, and you could criticise it very easily, is to say all the brush strokes are the same size. So what you need to do is when you do your one, start with a big brush or sponge and map the dark tones in with that, and then afterwards go to a mid-sized brush for the mid-tones, and then finally go to a smaller brush for the highlights. Less is more with highlights.